Audiobook Academy Biography presents Marcel Proust. He is one of the greatest French novelists of the 20th century. La Recherche du Temps Perdu, the world's longest novel, is a result of his penchant for long sentences. The modern European novel can trace its roots back to the works of French novelist Marcel Proust. He had a significant impact on modern writing with his ability to craft intricate and precise phrases, as well as psychologically deep character portrayals. Childhood and education. On July 10, 1871, Marcel Proust, or Valentin Louis Georges Eugène Marcel, as he was known, was born in Paris, France. He was born into a well-to-do medical family, but his childhood asthma plagued him for the rest of his life, making him both compassionate and sensitive. A pathologist and epidemiologist known for his work on cholera, Achille-Adrien Proust, was Proust's father and was credited with studying and seeking to cure the diseases spread throughout Europe and Asia at the time. He is the author of a slew of medical-related papers and books. He was born to an affluent and well-educated Jewish family from Alsace, Jean Clemens Weil. She has a wide range of knowledge. Letters from her indicate a developed sense of humor and a sufficient command of English to aid her son in translating John Ruskin's work. When Proust was a child, his father was a practicing Catholic. Baptized on August 5, 1871, and afterwards confirmed as a Catholic, but he never practiced his religion. His first serious asthma attack occurred at the age of 9, and he was then regarded as a sickly child. In 1882, when he was 11 years old, he enrolled in Paris Lycée Condorcet. His condition caused him to miss much of his time in the classroom, but that hasn't stopped him from contributing to the student literary magazines Revue Verte and Revue Lillis. Darlot, a philosopher and professor, had a big impact on him. After graduating high school, Proust was awarded the highest honor possible in philosophy. Proust served a year in the French army in Orléans, at the Coligny barracks, despite his ill health. In the third novel of the In Search of Lost Time and Duchesse de Guermantes series, he was able to draw on his own experiences. Henry Bergson taught him at the School of Political Science in 1890. After college, he began contributing to Le Banquet and La Revue Blanche as a writer and photographer. As a young man, he attended the salons of Madeleine Lemaire and Armand de Calevet, Leontine Lippmann, the mother of his childhood friend Gaston Armand de Calevet, whose fiancée he fell in love with. He also visited Mrs. Strauss, the widow of Georges Bizet and the mother of Proust's childhood friend Jacques Bizet, Jean Poquet. He met Anatole France through Armand de Calevet. His mother and Proust had a strong relationship. In the summer of 1896, Proust was able to secure a volunteer position at the Mazarin Library in order to please his father, who insisted that he pursue a career. With a lot of effort, he was able to get several years of sick leave that he was believed to have resigned from his position. His parents' flat remained his home till their deaths because he never worked. Between 1900 and 1905, he experienced a dramatic shift in his personal and family circumstances. His brother Robert got married and departed home in February of that year. In November of the same year, his father passed away. Finally, in September of 1905, he suffered the most devastating loss of all, the death of his mother. His mother has made a lasting impression on him. His health deteriorated substantially over this time period. In his final 3 years, he spent the day resting and the night writing novels in his bedroom. Career as an author. The young man was well educated and well traveled, and he spent his time reading, writing, and translating in a variety of intellectual and artistic circles, especially the writings of English academic John Ruskin, who had a major effect on his later work. Pleasures and Days is a collection of articles from his boyhood, 1896. In an effort to beat disease and death, he worked on his most important work for 10 years. A massive cycle of novels titled In Search of Lost Time, 1913 to 1927, was written in near total isolation and abandonment of all other activities, and it includes works such as The Road to Swan, In the Shadow of the Blossoming Girls, The Duchess of Guermantes, Sodom and Gomorrah, The Prisoner, The Fugitive, and The Time Found. The 3,200-page cycle, depending on version, spans the second part of the 19th century, the early 20th century, and World War I, as well as topics that shook French society at the time, for example, the Dreyfus Affair. Near the small town of Cambrai, Rilliers, in Paris, in the Provence, on the Normandy coast, in Venice, the story takes place in a country family residence. It is a fictitious and painstakingly linked quasi-autobiography in which all aspects are derived from reality but are styled in terms of Proust's philosophy and aesthetics, in the symbolist and impressionistic atmosphere of the time, in the form of essayistic memoirs. For example, Honoré de Balzac's study of social interactions during the age of declining aristocracy and the growth of the bourgeoisie can be situated primarily in the Dreyfus case, which is one approach to read this great synthetic work. For Proust, as for Honoré de Balzac, the goal is to depict an array of individuals with diverse socio-economic backgrounds and their destinies in a single work. It's a blend of novels and essays that made the work important at the time. Throughout the story, the author interjects observations on human psychology, cultural history, and the arts, as well as his own personal ideas and ideologies. As in Wagner's operas, the seemingly chaotic and varied text is held together by the myth of time as the dominant unseen force that shapes and dissolves people and relationships in its area. The passage of time, jealousy and love, physicality and the determination of the psyche by the body, the instability of interpersonal relationships and the unknowability of reality, the problems of identity and self, snobbery, and political culture and diplomacy before World War I are some of Proust's major themes in his writings. Time is a significant character in this story, but not in the way that it is for St. Augustine or other philosophers, but rather as a medium and the source of all transformations. Changing one's identity and communication patterns as well as one's outlook on life are all impacted by this. The French philosopher Henri Bergson influenced the writer to realize that the subconscious preserves all impressions, hence time that appears to have been lost can be found in the unconscious portion of the person's being. Involuntary sensory memory of the body, which retains not only past events but also past impulses and emotions, can bring it to consciousness and expression. The narrator switches between the first-person perspective of the main character and the adult narrator's scathing comments and mournful soliloquies. Because of this, the narrator has a clearer sense of his purpose and the significance of his life, and he never doubts the value of life despite his own failures. In a subtle way, poet and modern existential metaphysician Marcel Proust's message validates the existence of life. Life does not exist in order to one day be a painting or a book, it is in itself the greatest art, a kind of masterpiece. Ambiguity is evident throughout, with the author explicitly denying any continuity of self-consciousness and identity other than a physical rootedness, leading many to declare the writer's spiritual kinship with Oriental, Hindu-Buddhist metaphysics, which denies the Western tradition of personality unity, while the narrator's consciousness, never fixed, evolves in time as an entity. To some extent, this realization of Walter Pater's aestheticism and symbolism in the late 19th century is reflected in Proust's Search, which is clearly aimed at the narrator's spiritual salvation, but on the other hand, the magic of life is established by Proust's work without reference to the writer's apology of artistic vocation to his private obsession, which seems anachronistic and marginal to the modern reader. Author Proust is a direct descendant of Montaigne's moralists, Stendhal's memoir, and Dostoevsky. He has produced one of literature's best masterpieces. Death. For his last resting place, he was laid to rest at Paris Père-Lachaise Cemetery. Marcel Proust's grave can be found in Paris Père-Lachaise Cemetery. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button for more content like this. See you in next video.